And there you go. We're back. We're live. We're in the house. It's a beautiful Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to everyone listening on the audio experience. Hugely appreciate you listening and subscribing to the podcast. Guys, if you ever want to catch up on an episode of one of these live broadcasts, go to iTunes, search for Act on This TV, all one word, subscribe to the audio experience. You'll get the audio from all of these broadcasts delivered completely for free to your device every week. Put out 3 pieces of audio yesterday. This will go up tomorrow. There's exclusive stuff on there as well, phone calls that I make to people, random rants, all kinds of stuff to do with, well, both acting and personal development, you know, stuff that you can apply to your career or to your life. So that's really cool. So thank you for listening on the audio experience. If you're watching on the replay on YouTube or on actsonthis.tv, again, massive thanks for being here. So it's been an interesting day. Been out filming the vlog again, which has been interesting. Dave Caraher, if you've been watching the vlog, you'll know who Dave is. My mate Dave, he runs a concierge service for people where he just basically looks after people, giving them luxurious packages, whether it's wining and dining them here in the UK, taking them to, you know, top sporting events, all that kind of stuff. And we got invited to a launch of Salford City Football Club today here in Manchester, which was a football club that was bought by people like Gary Neville and Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes, the class of '92, basically. And we went to a little opening of that. So it was an interesting one. We couldn't film too much, but if you watch the vlog that's coming out on Monday, my vlog that comes out every week, we will be able to show you all basically behind the scenes of what's going on. So that was until 8 o'clock tonight. So literally just got in. That's why I'm rushing around a little bit. So yeah, check that out, facebook.com/Watch Ross, or just search for Watch Ross on YouTube. And tonight, it's the book club. Every Wednesday night I do a book club, guys. This is the first time you've joined us here. Thank you so much. We're looking at a brand new book. This is the first week of a brand new book. And this is a book that an awesome mentor of mine, kind of a friend of mine now, a guy called Lewis Howes, who you might know from the School of Greatness podcast, if you ever listened to that or you've ever subscribed. If you haven't, I would recommend you subscribe to that podcast as well. Obviously, subscribe to the Acts on This TV podcast first, but then subscribe to the School of Greatness. Lewis interviews just some of the greatest kind of people from all walks of life and reverse engineers success, really. You'll hear from all kinds of people, athletes, scientists, film stars, singers, personal development gurus, doctors, lawyers, God knows, everybody basically. But it's a really great podcast. And he brought a book out last year that we did in the book club called The School of Greatness. His brand new book, and don't be fooled by the title of this book, right? His brand new book comes out on the 31st of October, okay, in about 2 weeks' time. It's this book here. It's called The Mask of Masculinity, okay? Don't want people to be put off by that, going, what? If I'm a woman, does that not mean I can use this book? It's not about that at all. It's written from a guy's perspective because obviously Lewis is a guy. But it talks about, and I find this fascinating because it's so true, and you've got to admit this is true. Everyone in here has got to admit this is true. We all wear masks to get through life. As actors, we're paid to wear masks. Not physical masks, but as in you are paid to embody a character. Bring a character that isn't you to life. Put on a fictional mask and be somebody else. But how often do you think about or even realise the masks that you are wearing in real life? You know, put your hand up if you think you've worn multiple masks today in certain situations. I know I have. Definitely. There's certain masks in social situations you put on, certain masks in family, you know, kind of scenarios, situations that you put on, certain masks that you wear for work, certain masks that you wear in your relationship. We're constantly putting on and taking off masks. Steve says, I wear one most of the time. I know which mask you wear all the time, Steve, because they're defined in this book, and you totally wear the Joker mask all the time. But I know underneath that, there's a lot more substance to you, but maybe you're afraid of being vulnerable. So you kind of mask a lot of stuff with jokes, which is great because you're very entertaining, you're a comedian. But there's probably more to that than maybe you kind of realise or your subconscious is allowing you to realise. But everyone's like that. Everyone wears that. And there's like, in this book, there are 6, 7, 8, 9 masks that Lewis goes through that he thinks men wear. A lot of women wear these ones as well, and women will wear ones that aren't included in this book. But you will see, I promise you, whether you're a man or a woman, although the book is called The Mask of Masculinity, you're going to learn like loads of stuff about the opposite sex, effectively. So if you're a girl, you're going to learn a lot about guys, and hopefully the women on here can educate us guys as well, like how many of these masks you you recognize, and how many masks that kind of like you go, well, actually, you know what, the equivalent of that for a woman would be such and such a thing. Fanny said something about, isn't it a bit like, what do you say, Fanny? Something about what? Amateur psychologist. I can't remember what you put. But no, this book is all based on experience. So he actually says, and I'll read you parts of the book tonight. He goes, look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not this, I'm not that. This is all based on experience. And I completely agree with what I've read of it. Honestly, within reading the first few pages of the intro, I was like, wow, I so relate to this as a guy, and I'm sure everyone in here is going to relate to it as well. So there's 7 chapters. What does it say? 9 chapters in terms of the masks that we're going to look at. Can't look at them all on this book club tonight and for the next 3 weeks. But we're going to look at least 3 of them. Tonight I'm going to give you an intro because the book isn't officially out until the 31st of October. I'm going to look at like the intro tonight. And what it's all about, and then we're going to start next week on one of the chapters, because it'll only be a couple of days till the book's actually out. I don't want to kind of give everything away before Lewis himself even releases the book, and then for 2 weeks after that, once the book has been released, obviously we'll go into it in a bit more depth. But I want to start it now because I just think it's, I found it super interesting, basically. And we want to look at tonight, can you recognise the mask or the masks that you're wearing? Before we start, who reckons they recognise this already? Give me some situations where you might already wear a mask. And whilst you're doing that, I would really appreciate if you shared this, if you retweeted it on Twitter or you shared it on Facebook. Let me know if you're here as well on Facebook. Let me know, leave a comment. Let me know who's actually watching over on Facebook as well. And drop us a retweet if you're on Twitter would be good. Anyone got any ideas of any masks that they wear regularly? Before we begin, Caroline, what mask do you think you wear regularly, bar the Welsh one? Let's have a look. So thank you for sharing. A few people have just shared it. Anyone got any ideas? Come on, guys. You're being very quiet. But yeah, I know I definitely wear it. So I'm a bit like Steve. Sometimes I wear the Joker mask. Definitely. Particularly in situations with my eyes. If I'm in a situation where it's uncomfortable, in terms of I can't see very well in an environment that's dark or something like that, I will definitely put on a mask of kind of like super extroverted to, I don't know, kind of, I always want to just go, right, I'm going to shake everybody's hand right now because I don't want to miss a handshake if someone shakes my hand in 2 minutes because I miss because of my peripheral vision. For those who don't know, I've got this eye condition which really limits my peripheral vision. I'm like, situations like that, I have to put this mask on, like this social mask where I'm like, right, I'm going to miss the social now. Go and say hello to everybody and shake hands on my terms because later on, if they want to do it on their terms, I might miss it and then I look like a dick. I know that's definitely something that I do. And that's probably labelled as something, that's probably like an alpha mask as Lewis would term it in here, in terms of like, a bit of an alpha male kind of thing to do. But let's have a look. So can you recognise the mask you're wearing? And we're going to go through the 9 masks that there are, and you're going to tell me which ones you're wearing. Caroline, I think there's something psycho about the word mask. It doesn't mean one. It's not a Halloween mask, Caroline. So he says, over the last few years, I've interviewed hundreds of successful men and women in all sorts of fields. As I began to research the topic of masculinity, I asked the guests on my podcast several questions. What does it mean to be a man? How does this hold people back? What is your greatest fear? And what are you pretending to be? Because I think that's really what it kind of comes down to. I missed that comment there. I think Lucy said something. But Lucy said something about parenting mask as well, trying to keep calm on the inside when your kids are driving you crazy. It's definitely a mask. Particularly in public, I bet you put on the I'm a great mum mask, don't you? When really you could probably strangle your kids. So yes, Lewis says, what I've learned from them is that all of us have or have had our own insecurities. All of us are or have been afraid to be vulnerable and real. And I completely agree with that. Though this fear manifests itself in unique ways for each individual. With their help, I was able to uncover 9 common masks of masculinity that men wear interchangeably. I've worn almost all of them at some point in my life. And most likely, so have you or someone you know. So like I say, these are Lewis's, masks of masculinity, but I can promise you, you girls here will wear these ones as well, and there'll probably be some ones that are very unique just to females as well. Lucy said she wears a school playground mask. Is that when you go to pick up the kids from school and you've got to be the mum who's in control and not losing it? I see those mums. I live opposite a school. I see those mums each morning, the ones who kind of wear the big coats because their pajamas are still on underneath their coat, but they're still playing it cool at the school gates. Like, everything's under control. Don't worry about it. So the first mask, Lewis coins the stoic mask, okay? And that's because every man, so these are the definitions of these masks, okay? And these things obviously aren't true, but this is what society tells us a man should be. And let me know if you agree or you disagree with this, okay? So the stoic mask, because every man must be invulnerable and tough. Emotions are carefully managed and suppressed. And maybe you see this in your partner, your husband, or your siblings or your parents. There can be no crying. Okay, no pain, no feeling. A wall is put up between him and the world to protect him, to pretend he doesn't feel the things he does, because weakness is an invitation to scrutiny and judgment and rejection. I was definitely brought up, my dad was a super kind of alpha male. I was definitely brought up on the football pitch, like playing football. Men don't cry, get up, get on with it. If you feel you broke your ankle in that tackle, don't worry about it. Get up and run it off. Because you're a man and boys don't cry. I definitely grew up with that. Anyone else here grew up with that kind of, belief? Because that's been, passed on to them by either your parents or your teachers or your older brother or whatever. Caroline says, yeah, for sure. Does my head in, she says. So true, though, isn't it? So true. So that's the first mask, the stoic mask. I can definitely say I've worn that, like, loads. Absolutely. I was in the gym the other day. I dropped a weight on my hand. It really hurt. It really hurt. I could have shed a single tear, but I just kind of had to play it off a little bit. Oh, it's not a problem. No, I wanted to cry inside, but it's because men don't cry or men don't stop and go, oh goodness me, like that really really hurt. That's not what you do. So secondly, and this is a mask. Maybe you've done this as girls as well, right? The second mask that Lewis sees in guys growing up is the athlete mask. And I bet women have experienced this as well. He says one of the clearest ways a man can distinguish himself is on the field or on the court. He's like a modern-day gladiator whose weapon isn't death but domination. Sports are how men prove themselves, and a good athlete is a good man, period. This means spending hours in the gym to get in shape. It means fighting through injuries. See what I mean? Fighting through injuries and pain and fear to win at all costs. And of course, if for some reason a man isn't good at sports, he had better compensate for that by loving them and knowing everything he can about them. I always felt that because I don't know anything about football. I'm like, don't get it, really. Like, it's not that I don't get it. I love playing it, but I don't want to watch it. I find it dull. Unless it's like a really massive, massive match and it goes to penalties. I think all football matches should be penalties, really. It's way more exciting when it's down to penalties. I'll still argue these are not masks, they are coping strategies and then become habitual. Yeah, but it is what you're putting on, Fanny, isn't it? You're just putting this on. It's a barrier between you and what you're really feeling. So whether it's a mask or a cloak or whatever it is, it's something that it's between who you actually really are and who you're portraying to be. So it's like a barrier, whatever you want to call that. If you want to call it a mask or anything, I think the actual theory behind it still kind of stands. Because it's not showing vulnerability. It's not going, oh, you know what, I'm not very good at sports or whatever, so I'm not really bothered. I'm still a man without being good at sports and still without knowing anything about sports, So that's the second one. And I bet, who like at school, if girls and guys as well, when you're getting picked for teams, you'd always get like two team captains, and the two team captains at school would always be like the two popular guys or popular girls who were really good at sports. And then they would pick. And there was always that thing of going, oh God, at what point am I going to get picked? And I was generally pretty good at sports, to be honest. But there was kids in my class who were just, they were so shit at sport, but they were great people. They were just rubbish at sport, and they always got picked last because they weren't strong, or the kid who was slightly underdeveloped would always be last, or he's always the one you'd make go in goal or whatever. And Caroline said it's like armour. Yeah, I think that's true. I think that's another way you could look at it. Yeah, putting on some armour, these things. It's basically a protective shroud in it to hide behind, basically. So that's the material mask. Carrie May says, I was always last. Carrie May, I feel your pain. But these are really interesting to understand, guys, because there's going to be characters that you play as actors who will wear these masks at different points in the scene. I think if you can kind of, if you can remember these 9, and I'll obviously leave a link to the book, and I'll try and in the show notes, like on the page where I do the replays of these, like list these masks out. You can probably look at characters that you're playing and go, you know what, in this scene, what is this guy trying to be invulnerable, or woman? What mask are they wearing? I think this is kind of valuable stuff for acting as well. So the fourth mask is the sexual mask. It's a mask we all want to wear. A man is defined by his sexual conquests, it says here. His worth determined not only by his bank accounts, but by the number of women he's slept with. Relationships? Those are for lesser men, for quitters and settlers. A real man loves them and leaves them. But he's so good in bed, they're left fully satisfied, of course. So there is all that bravado. I've so experienced that as well. All that bravado down the gym, in the locker room, all that kind of, crazy stuff where guys are like, love, oh God, what's that? That's just for wimps, isn't it? That's just for losers. And you get a lot of like really insecure men wearing that mask who actually will tell you things and tell you about conquest they've never had. And you can tell instantly. You're just talking bullshit, mate. But it is, again, something to hide behind. Relationships are things that people never want to be vulnerable about. They never want to be vulnerable about being single or wanting to find, someone to be with or spend their time with. And guys, still to a certain extent, I think it depends on your level of maturity as well, though. I think guys still to a certain extent want to pretend they're way more experienced in that department than they actually are. This mask, this next one, everyone wears this, whether you're a guy or a girl, the material mask. There is no clearer sign of a man's worth than the amount of money in his bank account. Not only do men work incredibly hard, and remember, these are all stupid definitions in terms of, like, these aren't things we think are true. These are things that, the society have kind of told us over the years. So there's no clearer sign of a man's worth than the amount of money in his bank account. Not only do men work incredibly hard and sometimes do questionable things to make as much money as possible, it's all for nothing if other people don't know how much money he has. This is why Instagram's such a load of shite. In this way, his cars, his watches, his houses, and his social media feeds become a representation of who he is. A man's net worth becomes his self-worth. I get sick of seeing people who are trying to coach business on Instagram by just going, oh, here I am in my villa. Here I am in my sports car. You've rented it. You've rented the villa. You've rented the sports car. It's just nonsense. It's a material mask, as opposed to going, here's actually how I'm, making a relatively good living on my own terms. They want to try and go, here's how I'm making an incredible living, and I'm doing nothing but pushing 3 buttons on my laptop once every 4 weeks. Bollocks you are. Nonsense. But yeah, the material mask is a big one, and I find women doing this as well. This isn't just a guy thing. Women do this to show how independent they are. Oh, my ladies, independent. Throw your watches up at me that you bought yourself, that your boyfriend didn't have to buy you because you've got loads of money yourself. I don't do that, actually. I'm going to say we all fall for that, but we don't. As in, we all see that. We all see that. Something I absolutely do never want to do. Narcissistic, says Caroline. It is. There's a difference between... I think like real success is quite quiet, innit? Insecurity, that's that whole thing, innit? Success is quiet, insecurity is loud. It just stands so true when it comes to stuff like that. People just want to show what they've got because they think that is actually what they're worth, as opposed to, showing what they do, because what you do is what you're worth, not what you've got. It's an interesting one. So that's the fourth one, innit? Fifth one. For guys, let me know about this, because, I see this, but I think I see this in, like, less developed men. The aggressive mask. So this definition of the aggressive mask is men are aggressive. It's their nature. They're violent and tough, and they never back down. When they see something they want, they take it. Men hate. Men have enemies. Of course they have a temper. Of course they break things, and of course they get into fights. They're the hunters, not the gatherers. It's what a man does. A man who thinks otherwise is not a man and is responsible for weakening of the world. See younger guys, like 18, having a couple of beers on a Friday night and thinking they can take on the world. That's who I see wearing the aggressive mask, and that's because of a lack of everything. It's a lack of certainty in their life and a lack of significance, ultimately. They feel the only way they can be significant. Harvey Weinstein, yeah, absolutely. So I said Harvey Weinstein, yeah. Well, you know what? Yeah, that's definitely probably, as a kind of like a combo in it between the aggressive mask and the sexual mask. You end up with a Harvey. He's in a lot of trouble. All right, Tony Rossi on Facebook. Hello, James Wood on Facebook. Good to see you join. And John Moody. Hi, Ross. We wear them all the time in life or roles. Who we are, worker or as the role we play. So, yeah, no, we do wear masks all the time, John. Completely agree with you. So that's the aggressive mask. We've then got the Joker mask. Steve, this is you, man, from what I know of you at the Acts on This meetup. So the Joker mask. A man has a sense of humour and wit that can repel even the most withering critique or the most nagging doubt. Talk about his problems? Okay, Dr. Phil, maybe later. Cynicism and sarcasm and a sense of superiority. These are the intellectual weapons that a man uses to defend against every attempt to soften him. You don't have that superiority thing, Steve. You just have a sarcasm thing. Intellectual weapons that man uses to defend against every attempt to soften him. Not finish this one, page turn. Or connect with him. If you want a man to let you in, expect a knock-knock joke, not an open door. I've seen women do this as well, though. So again, this isn't just something for masculinity at all. There was a girl I knew who was big, overweight. Definitely had a problem with the relationship she had with food and exercise, to be totally brutal about it. Not anymore, glad to say, but every time we would go out, this girl would be the first girl in the world to mock her size, her weights, the fact that she'd say things like, "Oh yeah, any cakes? Get them over here," all this sort of stuff. And it was the Joker mask she was putting on in order to repel any other person from making jokes about her. She's like, if I can make a joke about myself first, none of you can make a joke about me. And I see that in lots of walks of life. The female equivalent is self-deprecation, getting the hit in before someone else does, says Carrie May. There you go, Carrie May. You just explained exactly what I was talking about. And I've seen that in more women than guys. Although Lee, who I spoke to today, is the guy who films me for the vlog. He was like, I do that, mate, with being small. He's quite small. Lee's about 5. What must he be, like 5'5" or something like that? It's quite small for a guy. So he'll always take the mick out of his size before any other guys can. Because that almost, as a man, being not as tall robs you of your masculinity, because society tells us guys should be big and guys should be strong, which we're going to look at in a minute. It's another mask that we wear. Guys should be tall, etc. Richard Hayler's joined from Miami. Good evening, Rich. We're looking at the masks people wear tonight, Rich. Basically to get through life. But I think these are really relevant because these are masks that your characters are going to wear as an actor as well. And I think you can use this stuff to inform a scene. To go, actually, you know what is my character doing right now? Why aren't they being vulnerable? What mask have they got on right now? Because all these things basically stop us from being vulnerable. I know a few blokes that buy a car to compensate for size, says Steve. That's another thing people do. So they put the material mask on, Steve. I used to take the mick out of my looks before Bulletproof Actor, says Bobby. Now he's just smashing it out of the park. Good on you, son. But yeah, and that would have been Bobby to go, you know what, if I take the piss out of my looks first, you can't, or if you do, it doesn't matter, because I own it myself anyway, so whatever. Hopefully you won't bother, because I've already done it. I take the mick out of my blonde hair. Why do you do that, Caroline? As in going, you're a dizzy blonde? Because society spun that kind of stereotype. That's interesting, yeah. And Bobby says he's an effing ride, to be fair. I'm sure all the ladies will agree, Bobby. Evening, Dan. All right, on Facebook. Great to see you. So I think that's absolutely an interesting one. The Joker mask is one that I think is probably one of the most common ones, to be honest. It really helps people hide their insecurities by just going, I'll joke about it, and then nobody else can joke about it. I've done it myself. I do it myself about my eyes. So I will, if I walk into a sign, because I do this all the time, I don't see signs, like wet floor signs, and they're fucking massive yellow things these days. And I still can't see them because they're underneath my peripheral vision. And every time I fall over one, boot it, I could kick myself inside. I'm like, what are you doing? You've done it again. Oh, my God. But I put the Joker mask on, and I take the piss out of myself so that people around me can't do it. I mean, people still do. They go, oh my God, did you not see that? I'm like, oh yeah, no, I did, mate. I completely saw it. I just tripped over it on purpose and threw myself on the floor in the train station, you knob. Of course I didn't see it. But I won't say that. I'll have a laugh with it and go, oh mate, I'm so clumsy. Nowadays, actually, I don't. I just go, yeah, I'm visually impaired. I was coming out of a really lovely bar in Manchester the other night, and I walked into the rope. You get those ropes between poles that are really low, and they kind of swing down. Came out the lift, and I just walked into that. And the guy went, my God, mate, how much have you had to drink? Taking the mick, he was all jovial. And I couldn't even be bothered playing along. I just went, I'm visually impaired, mate. The conversation like changed instantly. He was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." So don't worry about it. It's totally fine. But yeah, I used to always be the joker to kind of overcompensate for that. I overtalk because I feel shy in new settings, says Caroline. That's one people can do as well. Yeah, absolutely. You know, just tell jokes and stuff. If there's silence, people don't like it. So that was mask number 6. And mask number 7, the invincible mask. Anybody worn this? So this is the definition of that. A man does not feel fear. So, for instance, if you've ever been on a date as a guy, taking a girl out, and then you've got to go through something like Passage de Terror in Blackpool. Had to do that once with a girl. That's like one of those basically pitch black passages you walk through, and people jump out on you and shit like that. I actually didn't feel fear in that situation because I can't see in the dark. So Freddy Krueger was jumping out on me, and so was like the clown. I didn't even notice them, literally, because I had no peripheral vision and it was pitch black. Basically, it was like walking into it was like putting my hand in front of my face. Couldn't even see it. At one point, I actually had to go over to Jason, the guy with the hockey mask on and the chainsaw, and go, "Mate, how do you get out of here? Because like I'm lost." But I had to pretend I was, the invincible man in that for the girl that I was with to go, "Oh, don't worry about it." She's like, "Oh, I'm really scared." I'm like, "Don't worry. I'm the guy. I'll get you through this, no problem." So the invincible mask, a man does not feel fear. A man takes risks. Whether that's betting his life savings on a company or cliff diving or smoking and drinking in incredible quantities, a man doesn't have time to think about consequences. He's too busy doing. Other people, i.e. women and betas, as in alpha, not males, alpha males, beta males, have problems. But men have it all under control. They've got this and they'll be fine. They've got this and they'll be fine. Anyone got any guys like that in their life where they're just like, I'm a man. Don't worry, little girl. You're helpless and you can't do this. I'll do it for you. They'd probably like change your wheel on your car because they didn't think you could do it, even though you could do it, and even though you really could do it, they'll just be like, "No, stand back." James said, "I uploaded a picture of my new car back in March, which could be seen as a trait of the materialistic mass from other people's opinion. But I was just proud of myself for saving up for it for 3 years. This could tie into not acknowledging what people think of you. Let me know." Oh, it's an interesting one, that, James, isn't it? It's an interesting one, that. So you're a pretty young guy, James. Now, when you're in your early 20s, you go through different life phases, basically, of various human needs. And really from kind of like 18 to 24, you're going through a phase where you absolutely crave significance on the world. And that's basically because when you're between 18 and 24, normally most people are moving away from home, they're going to university, they are trying to make their stamp on the world, and they want to go, "Look, I'm here. I don't need my parents anymore. I can stand on my own 2 feet. I'm grown up. I can drive. I can go out clubbing. I can sleep with girls and, whatever you want," and all that sort of stuff. It calms down after like 24. You go into a different life phase, really, where you're looking for kind of like connection, love and connection. Or most people do anyway. So that is interesting. There could be a part of that where you are like, I actually want to, show to the world, not that I've got this car and like, oh, look how much money I spent on it. But maybe I'm sure there was a party that's like, actually, I want to I want to signal to people that I'm doing well, to feel significant in yourself. Almost to say, like, look, guys, I'm keeping up with you because everyone else is posting pictures of their cars or whatever they're doing, and expensive things or Rolexes or whatever they might want to, believe is success. So there probably is a part of you that's like, yeah, I want to do that as well. But your ego is protecting you right now by going, "No, James, you didn't do it for that. You did it because you were proud." It's probably a mixture of two, where you're like, actually, you know what? And you should be proud if you've stayed up for 3 years for that, mate, because that's a bloody long time. 3 years is like, yeah, done it. Be proud of that. As long as you know your intent was pure, I wouldn't care what people thought. If people want to be a dick and like, hate you for that, if your intent was genuinely pure when you did that, to go, actually, I'm just proud of this, then fair play, man. Do it. I don't think you should second guess what other people might think of you, unless you're like certain you're doing it for the wrong reason. I've stopped myself sometimes by going, I kind of want to post this, but then maybe I'll come across as a twat, so I won't post it. But sometimes you think, sod it. It depends what your intent is, and if your intent is pure, it's fine, man. Post whatever you like. But good on you for working hard, man. Jay says, yeah, definitely was a part of both. And that as I never went to uni either. Yeah, so you're going to want to say to your mates who did go to uni, look, I didn't go to uni, and I still can afford this, or I've still worked hard enough to achieve this. It is definitely significance driven because that's the area of your life you're in. There's nothing wrong with that, man. That's like what we all kind of go through. Definitely. But you've probably got a couple of years left of that, and then you won't give a shit. Right, so there's the know-it-all mask. The know-it-all mask. A man is not only physically dominant, but intellectually dominant too. Anyone been on a first date with a know-it-all, girls? If you don't understand why that is, a man is happy to explain it to you. That's funny. Along with all the other subjects he's an expert in. He went to a top school, you know. He watches the news and he knows all the answers. He certainly doesn't need you or anyone's help. He knows it all. My dad was so funny when it came to finding places, you know, directions. He would never ask for directions because that would have robbed him of his manliness, I'm sure. And we went on holiday once down to Cornwall, and honest to God, we got to like the place where we should have been, like in, I think it was Devon or maybe it was Devon or Cornwall. And we drove around for 2.5 hours with an A to Z back in the day, before SatNav, looking for this place, rather than him just stopping and going, hi, do you know where such and such a park is? 2.5 bloody... I fell asleep in the car again. I got so excited when we were there in the place. I actually fell asleep again looking for the place. I remember it very well. I woke up and had to go for a wee in the local hospital. Not because there's anything wrong with me, just because we'd been in the car for so long. But yeah, he would never, ever, ever ask for directions because he was the know-it-all on that score. He'd ask for other stuff, but for some reason it was always directions in the car. But it is a mask that people want to wear. I'm always right. I used to have that kind of thing where I'd find it very difficult to admit I was wrong when I was younger. You know, my early 20s, I'd always want to be like, no, my opinion's kind of right. And that's not until you kind of grow up and go, actually, you know what? It's totally fine to be wrong. And I almost enjoy admitting I was wrong sometimes. Taking accountability. It feels nice sometimes to go, yeah, you know what? I completely, utterly screwed up there. And I'm going to have I'm going to take full accountability for it. Caroline says so many men just don't want to ask anything and she doesn't get it. Honestly, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing, Caroline. Definitely a thing. The last mask is the alpha mask, okay? And that's the alpha, you know, so like alpha male. So at the most basic level, I think everyone's got the potential for this one inside of them. And women as well. I see women, you know, that are quite dominant to other women as well. At the most basic level, men believe that there are only two types of men, alphas and betas, winners and losers. No man can stand to be the latter. So a man must dominate, one up and win everything. A man can't ever defer. As a man, he must be in control. And he can't ever do anything a beta or a woman would do. It was like at school, wasn't it? How many times did you hear it? Like if you did something as a guy that was like deferring or losing, you were called a girl. That was like almost like the biggest insult. Oh, get up, you girl. Like one of the words that you could say to a guy when you were a kid. Get up, you girl. It's such an insult to girls, isn't it? But yeah, it's like that was it. You had to be the alpha male, where nothing could get you. James says, "I'm off to go and pick up the girlfriend, Ross, in the car." Oh, look at that! You put the sexual mask on now, James. You've got your material mask out. Now you're going to pick up your girlfriend. Thanks for tuning in there, mate. Appreciate it. You can catch up the rest on the replay. Carrie Ann said, that makes my blood boil. It's true, though, isn't it, Carrie Ann? I bet you heard it at school all the time. Guys calling other guys girls, oh, you girl, Or you get guys... It must have been a nightmare for you, Fanny, because guys would go, oh, get up, you Fanny. And then you'd be like, well, that's actually my name. Mental. But yeah, they said that to me, probably because I wore a skirt. It says, Steve, that's because, Steve, you've put the Joker mask on now, because you don't want to be vulnerable. See you later, James. So we want to look at taking off the mask and how it isn't easy, all right? So you've got those 9 masks. And Fanny went to an all-girls school, so it wasn't a problem. But it is, so those 9 masks, the stoic mask, the athlete mask, the material mask, the sexual mask, the aggressive mask, the Joker mask, Stephen, the invincible mask, and the know-it-all mask. So they're 9 masks, okay? And like I say, they're the guys' ones, but there will be some unique ones for women. But women, you're going to get good insight into a guy's psychology here. So if you're like, you actually want to understand your partner better, or you want to get a partner, and you're like, all guys are crazy, this is going to hopefully give you a bit of insight into what goes on in our heads. So taking off the mask, right, it isn't easy. The writer John Updike once observed that celebrity is a mask that eats into the face. And we've seen what celebrity kind of does in Hollywood right now with this whole Weinstein thing going on. It's not a nice thing if, like, you take it too seriously and you wear it, wear celebrity as a mask. He goes, I think what he meant was that celebrities are forced to perform and be on constantly. So it's like they have to come across like they're perfect, and all the crazy shit that's been going on in Hollywood. Oh, it doesn't go on because actors are all perfect and the industry's all perfect. But it's clearly not. Underneath, it's absolutely rotten. That mask is into everybody's face. So yeah, people have got to be on constantly, and they lose a sense of their real selves. Well, masculinity is a similar mask. Many of us have worn masks for so long that we're not even sure what's actually underneath anymore. I missed your comment there, Carrie. I like quite a big comment as well. Apologies for that. So people, have worn these masks for so long, they actually don't know what's underneath there anymore. We've lost track of where we end and where the mask begins. One of the reasons I love Jennifer Lawrence, is because so is that what you mean, Bobby? As in, because she's always like, look, I think one of her famous quotes on it was like, I'd rather be a little bit chubby on camera and look like a real person in life than look normal on camera and like a scarecrow or a stick figure or something in real life. Actors are acting all the time, as my dad says. I think human beings are acting all the time, Caroline. I think these masks are like, I think life is an act, isn't it? Everything. I've worn multiple masks today to get myself through different meetings, business meetings. I've had to behave myself at times, be a joker at times, be professional at times. I've got some kind of like presenter mask on right now, I'm guessing. I think I'm pretty legit and pretty, what you see is what you get. But I think we are all, to a certain extent, acting. So he says that's why removing the mask is not only terrifying, it's painful. They're fused to our faces. This will not be an easy journey through this book, though I will do my best to make the book easy to read. My own journey required confronting serious pain in my life. I had to face and sit with moments I would have much rather forgotten, things that I held on to and wasn't willing to share with anyone for the first 30 years of my life. These weren't just things that were done to me. I had to accept and acknowledge things I had done to other people, men and women alike. However, it's in the most difficult and challenging moments that we find the most meaning. An easy journey isn't a journey at all. It's just a walk in the park. In my journey of waking and walking and trying to pull off my masks in the lead up to writing this book, I went from a passive, aggressive, egotistical, easily triggered, stuck in the stereotype dumb jock to an inspired and inspiring, empowered and empowering, approachable and compassionate, loving man. Not only did my business explode, but my relationships became richer with men and women, and my life is more fulfilled because of it. Because Lewis actually took off his mask and started talking about stuff. I think this is what's happening really in this country when it comes to mental health as well. People are taking off the whole "I'm absolutely fine" all the time mask and actually going, you know what, I'm not. And like, we're getting celebrities involved with this where they're going, I had some issues where I was really down and depressed, and like it's actually normal. But I think people want to wear the whatever that mask would be of like, I'm completely fine and perfect mask. It's almost like a material mask, isn't it? That in itself, the material things of having it all together, going, I've got it, I'm holding it all together, when really inside you're not. So he says, do I still catch myself wearing masks from time to time? Absolutely, I'm still human. Triggering situations can at times set me off, and in the moment I do and say things that aren't what I want to be. But because of the work I've done over the years, I'm now aware of it when it happens. And I think that's the most important thing, being aware of it when you're putting these on. When you're putting them on, it means, you're aware of it, you can take them off. So I'm able to make amends. Most importantly for my growth, I'm able to laugh at myself with my masks on and take them off much more quickly so that I can live in the loving life I desire. Stripped of the various masks of masculinity, we're free to be who we actually are. We can love, we can find our purpose, we can connect, we can actually work harder, do more, better, be better, and appreciate every step of the way. That's what I'm proposing we try to do here together. So there's a couple of little parts we want to read now. I'd like to finish the introduction of the chapter off. And he says why we need to do this work. I missed a comment. It looks like, Bobby, I missed that comment. Was that to Steve, I think? You must have said something, Steve, that I missed, mate. Maybe you were vulnerable for a second. If you were, put it back on the screen. Definitely. So why we need to do this work, why ultimately we need to take this off. And this is why I think it's important for actors to do this kind of work as well, to actually understand themselves, what mask they may be wearing. Because if you can understand that and ultimately just get a better mastery of your own emotions, you can really bring that into your work. It just makes you such a better actor. So he goes, I'm not proposing an exploration of masculinity for political, biological, or even anthropological reasons. While all these would be valid reasons, they're certainly above my pay grade. Instead, I've written this book to encourage you to remove your masks for one simple reason. It will make you a better and more successful person in all areas of your life. Okay, regardless of gender, the key to success in life is creating meaningful relationships. You can't reach financial freedom, become an Olympic gold medalist, have a loving family, solve any of the world's problems, or achieve your wildest dreams on your own. And I completely agree with that. I'm trying to build a team at the moment around me to do more, be better, because I've got to the point where I go, I can't do all this on my own anymore. I just can't get any better on my own. So doing anything requires creating a team and fostering important relationships that develop and support you along your journey. I've spoken to many successful entrepreneurs, athletes, inventors, designers, and writers, and regardless of their reputation, I've found that what lies beneath was a caring, empathetic, and insightful person. There was no way they could have accomplished what they did without empathy and insight, and certainly their success would not have lasted long if they didn't have them. In fact, when we discussed their mistakes and darkest periods, inevitably what came up were regrets about selfishness, ego, aggressiveness, and a refusal to listen to the feedback from the world around them, all of it driven by a fear of vulnerability. And ultimately, that's what fear is, isn't it, really? You know, when you're afraid of something, you're afraid of the consequences, being vulnerable, what could happen to you, how could you be hurt in such a situation, whether it's losing money, losing love, losing self-respect, losing significance. It is fear, really is that all the time. It's what you could lose and being vulnerable. So contrary to what much of our culture tells us, invulnerability was a weakness that threatened their success. So these people who have been super successful, the whole mask of being invincible was actually a weakness of theirs because they wanted to pretend they could do it all on their own. You know, they didn't need help from anybody. The obvious irony is that from a place of vulnerability, many new ways of existing in the world open up. Honesty. So when you're vulnerable, honesty opens up. Compassion. Acting for the good of others and without ego, and the ability to heal from one's own wounds. As Dr. Brené Brown wrote, there's nothing weak about vulnerability. On the contrary, it sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness. It's a good definition of vulnerability, that. Vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Sounds like truth and feels like courage. And truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weaknesses. What's this, Fanny? Try to read that. Happiness is dependent, whereas bliss is a state. There's a lot of comments going on here. Apologies if I'm missing them. So there are many things that our definition of masculinity inhibits, but the damage it does to our relationships and sense of self, and therefore to our chances of success in life, should be enough to make you reconsider the stereotypical definition of masculinity. So for that reason, I'm going to be making my case for removing the masks of masculinity for the most selfish of reasons. It will make you better. It will make you happier and make you more successful. The fact that those choices may ripple through your relationships and the world as a whole in a positive way, that's just a bonus. So it's interesting, isn't it? And let's just have a look about that. It says a note on this journey. This is the last little bit that I'm going to read. It's just a couple of pages longer. It says, this is going to be a book that sets forth a new definition of what it means to be a real man. My goal is to support, and remember, this still applies to women as well. My goal is for every man and woman as they work to unlock, their full potential, achieve their dreams, and live happy, fulfilled lives. But I want to make it clear that I'm not a scientist or a psychologist, and I'm definitely not a doctor. Just as I would never claim that I am great and therefore qualified to lecture anyone, I'm a student like you. I hope that you don't think I'm writing this book to shame or talk down to anyone. This research and journey is as much for me as it is for you. Thus, before you start reading the chapters, I want to provide the following disclaimer. If you see me criticize any behavior in this book, you can be certain that I myself have been guilty of that specific behavior, or worse, in my own life. We all have things that hold us back from where we are and where we were born. We all have things in our life that hold us back from being authentic, our most powerful selves, and I'm no exception. I'm on the same journey as you. On top of that, if you find any wisdom or insight in this book, rest assured that the source is not me. Instead, the likely source is one of my mentors or one of the greats I spoke to in the course of this research. It's been my intention from day one to be a conduit for them, and if I bring anything to the table as a writer and thinker, it's in my ability to gather their insight all together in one place and organise their observations into an actionable format. And Lewis has interviewed hundreds of the most successful people in the world. I also want to say something about gender throughout this book. Many of my examples, stories and interviews are with men. And I am a man. The book includes masculinity in the title, but for the women reading this, rest assured that there is plenty in here for you. We all struggle with the masks throughout our lives, whatever our gender. Understanding these masks of masculinity can help you decode the men in your life and shed light on your own biases too. What I don't want to do, and what I hope I haven't done, is imply that men somehow have it harder or that women have it easier. This is a personal book. That's why I use the word I in it. This is a book about a very real set of struggles I have had. And so if you hear the voice of a man fighting his own fights throughout this book, that's exactly how it was meant to be. My hope is that in these struggles, you can find something approaching guidance, maybe even solace, regardless of whether you are a man or a woman. I hope that with the brave insights and experiences of every person mentioned in this book, we can all find something worth learning, something we can apply in our own life, and something to spark meaningful conversations. Using the prescriptions provided at the end of each Mask chapter, I believe it's possible for men to evolve into a new modern-day archetype that can help them lead powerfully in business, express courageously in relationships, find inner peace and happiness along the way, and become a sounding board for women and other men in their lives so that all may understand their roles and lift each other up in this process. It's time to unmask, says Lewis. And that's the intro. So we're going to look on the book club next week at... Well, actually, let's choose a mask. We don't need to go through it in order because there's not an order. So we can just go through in whatever order you want. So what mask do you think sounds the most interesting that you'd want to find out more about? So the stoic mask, the athlete mask, the material mask is a good one, isn't it? The sexual mask, that'll be a good one. The aggressive mask, the Joker mask is one I definitely want to cover over the next 3 weeks. The invincible mask, the know-it-all mask, or the alpha mask. Let me know, and we'll choose one. Give a little vote on the one that you would want. I think material and stoic are big male ones. No, they definitely are, but I still think I see the traits in females as well, Fanny. 100%. Because of this whole, like I say, new wave of independent boss woman. I'm the boss. The alpha mask is intriguing, says Bobby. So much choice, says Caroline. There is a lot of choice. Definitely. Dan says, oh yeah, I've had that book recommended before, Dan. Definitely. The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F beep. And we'll definitely look at that 100% in another book club. But I just think these are interesting because, like I say, I think they do tie in with acting work. I'm all those masks at one time. Maybe not the sexual ones, said Fanny. But yeah, I think there's some good ones there. Material mask, definitely, because I just think the whole world of social media has driven so many people into thinking that's the way to go. You know, actors who just want to post stuff all the time. The minute they get anything, people do it with jobs, don't they? Who posts there's nothing wrong with posting about a job that you've got if you do it in the right way. But I see people sometimes posting about acting work in a way that I go, oh God, you could have done that in such a classier way rather than a bit of a narcissistic way. Alpha sounds interesting, says Richard. I post today as soon as I got some improv wigs, says Vanny. Would it be too lowbrow to say, wait till we meet up? Wait till you meet me. Oh, what were you talking about there, Bobby? That was obviously not meant for me. But yeah, it's interesting. What do you want to go for? I don't tell people I'm an actress anymore. Says Caroline. Caroline's giving up on it. Nothing wrong. You should say with pride. That's absolutely what you do. It's just the like I say, the only thing for me sometimes is just when I don't know. There's a way of promoting yourself online. I think, and some people I think just do it in a way that I go, it's just a bit like bragging that as opposed to posting something for the good of others or to inspire other people. Someone posted a picture of them on set. Someone was really, really happy for them and went, oh, this is amazing. Can I share that with my mum or something on her timeline? She'd love to see it. And the guy just wrote no. Didn't even write no, sorry, can't for whatever reason. Just wrote no. It's like, what a dick. Why are you being like that? You just put it on Facebook to obviously show off how great you were. Someone was actually genuinely happy for you and wanted to show their mum, and you just wrote, no, you knob. Just don't like it. Don't like it when people do that. Just, you know, ugh. So what do you reckon then? So people like Alpha, people like the Alpha Mask. I think the ones that are kind of like the ones that everyone's gonna, that are kind of the more unisex ones. Material, definitely. Stoic to a certain degree. Invincible, definitely, as well. And Alpha. So if we choose Stoic, Material... What about Joker, though? Men and women are definitely Jokers, aren't they? Stoic, Material, Joker, and Alpha. What about them? Which one would you want to do first? Stoic, Material, Joker, and Alpha. I think you see those traits in both men and women, and definitely in probably every play or TV show you do. There's a character wearing one of those masks because they don't want to be vulnerable. That's where the conflict comes in. Joker for actors, I think. Let's do Joker first, then. Anyone want to do Joker's for Steve as well? Steve, we're going to fix your jokerness. And Caroline doesn't know who she is. Well, by the end of it, Caroline, by the end of the next 4 weeks, hopefully you're going to know who you are. But I would just keep an eye on yourself over the next few days and just try and, when you're in a situation that feels uncomfortable, just be like, am I, or you feel like you don't want to be vulnerable, just have a little think about, would it be better if you were vulnerable? Would it be better in that moment where you don't quite understand what you've been told to do, rather than to plow into that task actually not knowing and like getting it wrong? Would it actually be better to go, actually, you know what, I'm so sorry. Can you just go through that again? I see actors taking directors' direction, and they don't understand what the director's actually asking them to do, because sometimes the director can't quite put into words what he's asking for. I get voiceover direction, honestly, where they go, "Oh, Ross, that was great, mate, but could you give me could you do it a bit more like, a bit more kind of." I'm like, yeah, I can definitely do that. I'm like, I have no idea what you mean. And then you end up kind of giving them almost like the same performance or something that's completely different, like to actually what they wanted. Whereas sometimes it's better to go, actually, I'm going to be vulnerable for a second and go, I haven't actually got a clue. Who's sat there in an audition and the director's gone, okay, this person in this scene, it's a bit like Jane in blah, 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 a name of a film you've never watched. And you've gone, oh, yeah, oh, no, definitely. You haven't even seen it. I've done that. Haven't even seen the film you're talking about. I've got no clue who the actor is you've just mentioned, and so I don't feel insignificant or like a knob. I basically said, yes, I get it, when I don't. I've put on the know-it-all mask, when really I should have took it off and gone, I'm really sorry, I never get time to watch TV because I'm always doing Facebook Live and Periscope broadcasts for these guys. But I've done it. I've absolutely done that. I've gone, oh my goodness, why didn't I just say before this what I've never seen it, what I should have said in the first place. One time I got, you're now gay and fighting with a girlfriend. What? As what direction? And then he said, and then he just blanked, says Bobby. But yeah, sometimes the direction you get is just very vague. And rather than actually say, I don't understand it, because you don't want to offend the person, you just go, oh yeah, no, I completely understand it. So we'll look at the Joker mask next week then. Why people are wearing it, how you can take it off, what are the benefits of taking it off, and hopefully you'll understand it yourself. But I like Lewis a lot. Definitely listen to his School of Greatness podcast. This book comes out on the 31st of August, the full book. It's a little pre-release copy that he sent me. And we'll get stuck into it next week. You can pre-order it on Amazon. Drop Lewis a tweet at Lewis Howes. That's his name again. If you don't follow him on Twitter. I think it's interesting. Lewis is definitely a guy who people would think has everything. But in this book, he's like, listen, the reason I wrote this book, he's American, he's from Ohio, Caroline. The reason he wrote the book was because he did a book last year called The School of Greatness, and he did a book tour, and everybody was literally like, Lewis, man, you interview all these incredible people, you've got this great book out, you're amazing, is there anything else, like what, do you get the guy who's got everything kind of thing? And he writes he takes his mask off completely in the first part, like the preface of the book, and he's like, listen, I went back to my hotel room after all of these book tours, and I felt so empty and hollow, and I was really unhappy and down. I had no one in my life to share my success with. I would go back to empty hotel rooms, and he would put this mask on at his book signings, like everything was amazing, and they're all like, Lewis, what's next? And they talk about all this amazing stuff, and deep down the guy was feeling like utter shit and worthless. And he was like, I need to write a book on this, because as guys particularly, but I think everyone feels it, we can't show vulnerability in public, or if we're deemed to be successful, we really can't like show anyone, take that mask off, let our guard down, and show anyone that we're not really successful inside. And he was like, he felt that material success would make him happy, and when he actually got it all, and the guy's earning literally millions of dollars, not happy, really not happy. So being vulnerable and learning about himself for the last couple of years, writing this book, he's become much more fulfilled. His business is blowing up, and his relationships are blowing up. He's in a great relationship with a girl now. Caroline said it's probably why there's a high rate of suicide in men. I think it definitely is, really, really is. And and there's a real unspoken side of entrepreneurship and like Silicon Valley, and that's a lot of that is run by men, startup companies, in tech, and there's a lot of people losing it all, setting up these businesses, getting venture capitalists to invest millions of dollars, and it all going wrong, and they kill themselves, and it's really unspoken of, but it's a real problem in Silicon Valley and in the whole entrepreneur space in general. Depression is absolutely rife, and it's because people want to wear a mask and pretend everything's fine. Who was that poor guy at? Was it Linkin Park? Or it wasn't that long ago, was it? His wife posted a picture on Facebook going, this was my husband 3 days or 3 weeks before he killed himself, and they were kayaking, and he was smiling, beaming smile. You would never know anything was wrong with him. He proper had the Joker mask on during that trip, like, yeah, everything's fine. Killed himself 3 weeks later, left 2 kids and a wife. So it's serious, It's like, I think it's something we definitely talk about, but it really does tie in to acting work, because I think these are masks that we interchange and take on and put on and take off during work all the time. I know the character I just played in that BBC One BBC One drama, Age Before Beauty, this guy called Mitchell. If I'd have like known about this beforehand, I'd have just been like, I'm wearing the material mask throughout every scene that I do, because he was deep down, he was definitely insecure, but he just rocks up in suits all the time, wanted to talk about money and how he's selling this and that and flirting with girls and basically the material mask and the sexual mask. And that would have really helped me get kind of clear on how to play it. Depression is serious. It's an illness. We need to end the stigma. Yeah, definitely, Steve. Absolutely. And Bobby on here just said something about a suicide attempt. That he went through with that. He said, but afterwards he realized being vulnerable was totally the way. Man, it is, man. If anyone here is feeling like that, you need to talk. Definitely, don't hide it behind a mask. Email me ross@sonthis.tv. I'll drop you a reply back. Might take a few days though, so I'm probably not the best person to reach out to in times of a total crisis. But yeah, talk to somebody. But I'm glad you've learned that, Bobby. It is honestly, vulnerability is so powerful. I've told you that story about the guy who tried to assassinate, I think it was JFK, the first time, not the assassination. But there was a different guy. It wasn't the guy who ended up killing the guy. I don't know why so many people wanted to kill him. But he was waiting at a procession. This is a real story, true story. He's waiting at a procession, and the president was like, I think he was like 15 yards away from him. And as he was getting closer, he was like, right, this is the moment. And he started reaching into his jacket. So for those watching me now will see. So his gun was on the inside of his jacket here. He started reaching in, he had his hand on it like this. And then as the president was getting even closer, like within 7 or 8 feet away, he's like, right, now this is the time where I pull this gun out and shoot him. And as he went to pull the gun out, he elbowed something. And he was like, oh, and he said, oh my God, I'm sorry. He turned around, there's a little lady, little old woman, so vulnerable. And she was like, just been elbowed in the face. And he's like, oh my goodness, I'm super, super sorry. He just saw the power of like this vulnerable woman. She was so vulnerable. And this guy couldn't go through with shooting this president in front of her. He's like, not only elbowed her in the face, but I can't put her through this because she's so vulnerable. And he didn't shoot him. He went on, I don't know who it was, he went on to shoot somebody else eventually, not that day, but he was obviously a total lunatic. But that president's life was at least spared that day. Someone else got him in the end, didn't they? But yeah, vulnerability is powerful. Saved somebody's life that day. Unfortunately, he still got at some point. But it's powerful. You know, it could stop a killer from killing. It's very powerful vulnerability. So don't be afraid to share it, particularly as an actor. Everyone has a golden nugget inside of them, says Fanny. Yeah, absolutely. You know, but if we can all be a bit more vulnerable, I just think the world will be a better place, really, rather than just pretending everything's all right or, you know, blagging and pretending and faking it. So it's interesting. It's a fascinating subject for me because I just see people, particularly in this industry, do it all the time. I don't know if people are more afraid of being vulnerable in the acting industry because the product they're selling is themselves. Whereas if, you know, the product that wasn't working quite right was something that was physical that they'd made, you know, or like I say this all the time, like, you know, a baker bakes a cake but it doesn't rise, you can blame it on the ingredients. If you're an actor and you're not succeeding in your career, you know, it's kind of down to you. So a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable because they're like, oh, it must mean I'm shit or something like that. So they pretend everything's all right. They don't ask for help, and therefore they stay where they are. So if you actually just ask for more help and be vulnerable and admit that, you know, everything isn't a bed of roses, then I think you get further much faster anyway. So it's interesting. Let's have a look. That was the one thing I wanted to get across in Aaron, allowing both characters to be vulnerable. So that's a film that Bobby wrote and shot. So yeah, no, you definitely did, Bobby. Put it, get it. Have you got it online anywhere, Bobby, or anything like that? Or are you entering it into things? Because you can post it, man. Post it up online. Let people watch it. Send people a link to it, and we'll get everyone watching. When does asking for help become a burden, Ross? When you've asked for the same help multiple times, Fanny, that's all. So the only thing that pisses me off is when people email me and ask me a question. If they've never asked it before and I give them the answer, and then 2 weeks later they email me again and I say, have you taken action on the thing I just told you 2 weeks ago? And they say no. That's when it becomes annoying because they go, well, I can't help you then. If you're not taking action on if you're asking me for help and you're not trusting me enough to take action on what I'm telling you, don't ask me because it's pointless. So that's the only point. So asking for help is never a burden as long as you've never asked for that help before to the same person, or you've, you know, or if you have, you've at least acted on what they told you. Go back to someone by all means and go, what you told me, I did it, it didn't work. Any other tactics you think I could use? But don't go back to somebody asking the same question, and when they say, have you already done that, you go, no. I've had that sometimes with people for years, and I've gone, I'm probably going to stop replying because I can't help you any further until you're in a position where you want to help yourself. But yeah, just keep asking. Remember, life will pay any price you ask of it. What are you asking for? So that's it, guys. Going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being here. Do appreciate you all. I know we've gone on a little bit, but that's just an intro to the book. Like I say, at Lewis House, follow the guy. Check out his podcast. Very good guy. And we'll get stuck into the book properly next week because it'll only be a couple of days till it's out. Like I said, I didn't want to go into it in too much depth tonight because it's not really out yet. I don't know if it's embargoed or Lewis would want me to actually read it online. So far before it, it's 2 weeks till it's out, isn't it? But by next week, it will only be a few days. I'm going to be back on Monday night for Motivation and Mind Hacks. I don't know what we're going to be talking about, but it'll be something exciting. So do join us. The vlog, episode 5, will be out as well. I filmed some of the vlog yesterday. I think episode 5 could maybe... One part of it is probably one of the funniest things that we've done on the vlog so far. It's great. It's very funny. Go to YouTube and just search for Watch Ross, all one word. And if you do subscribe, I am going to choose one person at random at the end of this year, December the 31st, New Year's Eve. I'm going to choose one subscriber from my YouTube channel on the Watch Ross channel. And if you're an actor, I'm going to pay for your Spotlight subscription for 2018. Or if you're not an actor, I am going to pay for a gift for you for 150 quid or thereabouts. Fanny, to find it, all you need to do is go to YouTube and type in Watch Ross, all one word. It'll be one of the first, I've done it a few times for people today. It's one of the first things that comes up. You'll find very brightly coloured thumbnails. The episodes 1 to 4, it's like pink, orange, green and blue. The thumbnails, you can't miss it, honestly. Watch Ross, all one word. On YouTube, and very shortly, when the channel's 30 days old, I'll be able to get a really easy to remember URL. So it'll be something like youtube.com /Watch Ross, And then that'll be a lot easier. It won't go anywhere if you type that in right now. Honestly, Fanny, do it now. Not capitals, doesn't matter. Do it now whilst I'm on before I go, whilst I'm setting this up. You will definitely find it. I've done this for 3 people on their phone today. It was the first thing that came up. Watch Ross, all one word. Not capitals, just... you can put capitals in if you want. I'm sure it'll still be the same. And thank you, Rich from Miami. This is very interesting. All the best. Cheers, mate. Appreciate you being here. Hope all is good. And we'll get a Skype call at some point, Rich, as well. Go over some tactics for you, how you can break the UK. Not literally, but how you can break into the UK industry. Not actually like breaking illegally, because you are allowed to be here because you are British. So that's fine. But yeah, Fanny, let me know that you found it before I go. If I've missed your comment already, apologise. Type it again. That applies to everybody. Go and find it if you can right now. Watch Ross. I'm going to do it on YouTube without being logged in. And just see. So if I just Google it, Watch Ross, YouTube, all one word. I've got Ross bloody Kemp, haven't I? What about if I do hashtag Watch Ross, all one word? There you go. You'll find it. So if you do hashtag Watch Ross, so it's on your phone. Yeah, so it works if you do hashtag. So if you type it all into Google, the hashtag Watch Ross, all one word, and then YouTube, you'll see 3 videos come up straight away. It's not the world premiere of Watch Ross, because that was actually on the Act on This YouTube channel, because I did it live on a broadcast here. But you'll see an orange and a purple thumbnail there as well. One says Tracking Down a Billionaire. One says What's the Worst That Could Happen. They're the titles of the episodes 1 and 2. But they're already on there. So if you click on those and subscribe to that channel, you're away. You will win. Definitely. So check it out. Leave a comment. And you might actually say you'll win. You'll win by watching them, but you might win the bloody prize. When Google, I got loads of Bob Ross. Who's Bob Ross, Mary? Bloody hell. Bob Ross. I don't know who Bob Ross is. Yeah. In fact, I'm going to do that now and just see if I can... Because I bet you did it like it's 2 separate words, didn't you? It's all one word. Yeah, God, loads of Bob Ross comes up. Bob Ross, Wilderness Day. Who the bloody hell's Bob Ross? He's not who you want to be watching. He's a very famous painter, apparently. Well, respect Bob Ross, but get off Google when people Google for Watch Ross. See, if you all subscribe and share, and we build up the channel, it'll hopefully get more traction than Bob Ross. So actually people will be able to find me a bit easier. How many subscribers has Bob Ross got? Crikey, Bob Ross. No wonder he's on there. He's got 825,000 subscribers. I'm getting hold of Bob Ross and saying, listen, help me. I want to get 800,000 subscribers as well. That'd be pretty cool. Right, well, appreciate that. So, yeah, hashtag Watch Ross, all one word. I'm sure you'll find it on Google or on YouTube. And like I say, soon I'll have a shorter URL, so you'll be able to find it, no problem. Massively appreciate you. In fact, why don't I finish, as always, you've all seen this, but I'm going to put it on again. I'm going to finish with the 60-second trailer of Watch Ross Episode 4. And Episode 5 will be out on Monday morning. So here's Episode 4 trailer. Catch up with you guys next week. Thank you so much for being here. Massive love to everybody. Bye for now. I've got some amazing news to announce.
Oh.
Well.
Is it?
Are these all my scripts?
These are all your scripts.
Oh my goodness, how many episodes are we doing today? I don't need a date in sight. Look at me, I'm surrounded by women. Decaf? What's the point in that? You see this girl who clearly looks like an American supermodel. In the background are American number plates. And she says she's Jenny, 22, from Scunthorpe. Bullshit. I'm thinking whitewater rafting, wrestling with a bear, maybe free climb up the Manchester Hilton. Jade, this is too hard. Tweet me if we were on a first date and I dressed like this. Would you personality over style? Right, very exciting. So as you saw, we got kicked out of The Alchemist. Basically, we were dancing. Watch Dog? I don't think so. Watch Ross.